Hello, now we are going to study the concept symbolic interactionism. It is one of the important concepts of sociology. It is a micro level theory in sociology which takes into consideration the individual in the society, how an individual communicates, how an individual relates to another individual through different signs and symbols. Those are the things that we are going to study in symbolic interactionism. It was a concept which was developed by Herbert Mead in early 20th century, and the term symbolic interactionism was coined by Herbert Plummer in 1931. So, symbolic interactionism, its root, or we can say it draws its philosophy from pragmatism and psychological behaviorism. So, who are pragmatists? So, pragmatists are those for whom the true reality does not exist, for them the true reality keeps on changing as per their feasibility. Anything that stops working for them, they move forward. So we can say it is a dynamic process. For pragmatists, their knowledge base is dynamic. Anything that stops or ceases to work for them, any concept that ceases to work for them, they move forward and they move to a social or physical objects that they encounter in the world that now are that now is having usefulness for them. Behaviorism. So here in behaviorism, the focus is on mind and self. So we need to understand that here mind and self both are different to each other. We will discuss in detail in the next chapter uh, uh, about how mind and self both are different to each other, but still they have some interconnection. So here in behaviorism, we discuss that how mind and self emerge from the social process of communication by different signs and different symbols, and it coins the term behaviorism. So basically, Hubbard Mead discusses about various concepts that together form a bigger concept that is symbolic interactionism. One of the major theory is ACT. So under the Mead's major theory of symbolic interactionism, ACT, ACT, ACT acts as a primitive unit. So ACT the Mead's Act has a 4 stages, which is impulse, perception, manipulation, and the last act, which is consummation. So, according to Mead, these 4 stages these are interrelated, and how an actor finds out these 4 stages useful for his or her act. So let's discuss through an example. For example, hunger is one of the impulse. So let's say anybody is having hunger. The first stage is the feeling of hunger, that is impulse. The first stage would be impulse. Second stage would be called perception. So what is perception? Here the actor searches for and reacts to the stimuli that relate to the impulse that he or she had. So perception involves incoming stimuli as well as the mental images they create. So let's say if anybody is having a feeling of hunger, there will be a kind of mental image that will be forming in the mind. So the kind of perception that is forming is the second stage. Third stage is manipulation. Once the impulse has been manifested, so and the object has been perceived, the next step would be manipulation. So what exactly is manipulating the thing, and what is manipulation? So under manipulation, here a person who is hungry will starts to act through moving his hand or getting let's say carrot or anything to eat in his or her hand will be manipulating. So manipulation phase constitutes for me an important temporary pause in the process. Here, the response is not manifested immediately. So the pause afforded by handling the object allows humans to contemplate various responses. For example, here the differences starts to appear. If a person is hungry and he just um, got one mushroom, so he or she won't consume it directly. He or she will have a thought over it whether this mushroom is consumable or not, whether this is poisonous or not, whether this can be consumed raw. It requires cooking. Whereas any dog or let's say any cow is hungry, he or she will directly it will directly consume it without thinking whether it is poisonous or not, whether it is cooked or not. So there is a difference between humans and animals, and here comes the role of manipulation. So this is basically a third phase of the act. The last phase is consummation. So consummation is generally the taking of action that satisfies the original impulse. So in totality, this stage is the final stage where an act has been performed totally. So these four stages form an act an actor performs. One of the example to demonstrate this four stages of the act. In addition to act, there's one more concept, that is gesture, which is described by Mead as an act by organism that calls out a response in another organism. So if let's say an actor is having a kind of gesture in public or let's say in person to another person who is standing before him or her, so if the person is standing in front of him or her is having a kind of response, so this will be kind of the overall the sign that was utilized will be called gesture. So gesture can be significant or non-significant. Sometimes it happens that we have a kind of gesture or symbol, but another person who is standing in front of us doesn't understand or doesn't react to it. So it may be non-significant gesture. So there are significant gestures and non-significant gestures. The vocal gesture, which is particularly important in the development of significant gesture, is one of the major function of human being. So how a human being utilizes the vocal gesture to communicate with another individual. Another set of symbols that is called significant symbol. It is one of the concept by Mead. The gesture and significant symbols, they all are interrelated. Here, in significant symbol, we discuss that a kind of it is basically a kind of gesture, one which only humans can make. So any gesture which humans can make will be significant symbol. For example, we have different languages, so we use language like French, English, Spanish. So any Spanish person discusses anything with another Spanish person, so there's a communication that has been established, and that is a significant symbol. We call it a significant symbol. That is a special gesture that has been utilized over there. So such kind of gesture are not found other than humans. So here we are saying that a kind of gesture which is only humans can make. Now a gesture becomes significant symbol when they implicitly arouse in the individual, making them the same response which explicitly arouse or are supposed to arouse in other individual. For example, we take an example. Let's say a person is standing in front of us and we are uh, placing our finger on our lip to say that please be silent, and the person who is in front of us understand that and remain silent. That means that person has perceived our gesture and accordingly has responded to it. So this particular gesture would be significant symbol for the both of the individuals. and how this gesture has created a communication between two individuals. So the set of vocal gestures most likely to become significant symbol is language. So here a language, the language that we usually human being has got a tool to communicate with each other. Here this particular thing, language, has been called a set of vocal gestures, which is a significant symbol. Another function of significant symbol is that they make the mind. So basically, through significant symbol, we do kind of processing in our mind. We think of it. We perceive something with. We remember a certain thing, and then accordingly we act. We decide how to act. Such kind of things comes into our mind through significant symbols. So these were certain concepts by Herbert Mead under significant symbols, a broader concept that is symbolic interactionism has more of the concepts by Herbert Mead and several other sociologists that we are going to discuss in next chapter. Thank you.